This course is presented to you free of charge by TTJ Tech Services of www.ttjtech.biz and by Stir It Up of www.stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U, not an I, so that's STURITUP.com. TTJ Tech Services and Stir It Up are pleased to offer this course to you, to the glory of God, and to the benefit of all those who listen. Welcome once again to iPad for All Computing 2023, session number 4 today. We've been talking about the idea, and we're going to return to the Messages app. I'm in the Messages app, and just to do a quick review, if I touch the left-hand side of the screen, I'm going to get my message conversations, and if I double tap on one, it selects it, but it does not open up a separate screen. If you need a more in-depth explanation of that, check out Monday's recording on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. And then if I touch the right-hand side of the screen, it is whatever conversation I've selected on the left. So now I can swipe through individual messages. I can reply to those messages and all that sort of thing. And I want to remind you, too, that when I double tap on one on the left, 9 times out of 10, VoiceOver is very, very helpful and automatically puts my VoiceOver cursor not only on the right side, but in the edit field already so that I can begin typing. So let's select a message.
Conversations, Kylie, pinned.
Now, she's at school right now. She doesn't have her devices, but I'll just tap just to select the message so you can get the idea. Now, let's swipe left and right.
Dictate, conversations, selected.
Okay, so that time it did not take me over to the right-hand side, but that's okay, because you can hear that it's selected. Listen again.
Selected, Kylie, pinned.
Okay, and that's a pinned conversation. We'll talk about that in a moment. Move my hand over to the right. If you recall, you can use containers in the rotor. That does work, but I cautioned you just to use that sparingly, and don't use it as a means of not having to get the muscle memory. When I select the message, I can then use containers in the rotor to quickly go from one side of the screen to the other, because a container is like a virtual defined area of the screen. And in many apps that employ this split screen design, each container represents one side of the screen. But I cautioned you to just use that sparingly and not to use it as a substitute for the muscle memory that you get by practicing this. And the reasons I've cautioned you that are because, to review, the container option in the rotor will take you to the other side of the screen, but it may not take you to the part of the other side of the screen where you want to be. It's probably going to take you to the very top of the right-hand side of the screen. Well, let's see. Let's go to containers and try it.
Vertical navigation, heading, container, screen, containers.
All right, if I know I'm on the left, if I swipe down,
Kylie, button.
Yep, see, that's exactly what it did. It took me to the top of the right side of the screen. I'm on the button that says my daughter's name, and if I double tap on that, I can get info about her. I can do a FaceTime call with her. I can send her my location. I can, there's all sorts of things. We'll look at some of those here. But it's not where I want to be if I want to type a message to her. And so the better you get with this muscle memory thing, it's going to be a much better option for you, because I happen to know that typically the edit field where I want to type a message and subsequently the most recent messages from her are going to be in one of two places. They're going to be either on the right hand middle, just below the actual middle, like sort of lower middle. Remember, we talked about fake quadrants that don't really exist, but we're mentally dividing up the screen into those quadrants so it's a little easier to reference. So we'd say like maybe the very top of the bottom right quadrant, if you can process that. And that's if the keyboard is displayed. If the keyboard's not displayed, then that message edit field is going to be clear at the bottom right, like not far right, but like the bottom of that quadrant. So it's important that I have that muscle memory if I want to get to things more quickly. Because even if I use containers, it isn't going to guarantee me that I'm going to be where I want to be, and I still may end up doing a bunch of swiping that I can avoid if I master the muscle memory thing. So I'm going to touch near the bottom right here,
iMessage.
and you hear that
Use
I'm
the rotor to access misspelled words.
you hear that I'm right where I want to be already. Now, praise God again, He's given me a talent for this. It just sort of makes sense to me, like 2 plus 2. But you can refine this and you can work on it with muscle memory by doing a lot of practice. Now, why did I suspect that the keyboard was not up? Well, because the voiceover cursor did not jump to the edit field when I double tapped on Kylie's message. Remember, when I double tapped on her conversation, it didn't take me to an edit field. So I suspected that the keyboard was not displayed on the screen, and that's exactly correct. I don't know which one was the causation there and which one was the result, but either way, the keyboard's not up and the voiceover cursor wasn't there. So what I now did was I knew to tap on the very bottom of the screen on the sort of right hand side, and I landed right where pretty much where I want to be. It's going to just be one swipe to the left.
Message, iMessage, text field. Double tap to edit.
That's where I want to double tap if I want to send a message to my daughter. If we swipe to the left some more. What's that?
That's not completely true. You actually don't have to be on that. If you swipe back to the right and double tap on the word iMessage, it actually opens up the edit field also.
Oh, okay. I don't know that I've ever tried that. Okay. Yeah, so there are two areas. This is the one that says the edit field.
Message, iMessage, text field. Double tap to edit.
But what Cliff is saying is we can also tap where I was.
iMessage.
We can double tap right there as well.
Message.
And there it is.
Field is editing.
And
iMessage. Insertion point at start.
And you hear that the insertion point is at the start, which there's nothing in this anyway. But now you heard, if you could hear that little doot sound, the keyboard is up on the bottom half of the screen. Remember, I'm in landscape mode, so if I look here.
Cap K, Cap L, return.
Okay, there's my keyboard. We'll spend some time on typing soon, but that's the way that is. So it basically is open now. I have the keyboard, and again, if I want to find the edit field so I can sort of review what I've typed, I now know that it's above the keyboard, so it's going to be higher up on the screen, probably the very top of the bottom right quadrant and the very left of the bottom right quadrant.
You did talk about accessories, and that's the only reason I'm mentioning in this shortcut. And you tell them that they can use containers to jump to one side of the screen to the other, and it'll only take them to the top. Well, if you're using a smart connected keyboard or a Bluetooth keyboard, if you hold down the control key and hit the up arrow, it'll take you to the very top of the messages app, not the message list, but the messages app, where it would say edit, compose, and all that. Now, if you hold down the control button and hit the down arrow, that is going to take you to the very bottom of the window or the app where the edit field is and everything. And you're not going to see a keyboard because you have an external keyboard or Bluetooth or Magic Keyboard connected. So when you VO spacebar on iMessage or the edit field, your keyboard still is not going to show up because you're using a Bluetooth or smart connected keyboard. So that's just a little, food for thought, tidbit, tip for the day, whatever you want to call it. So control up arrow will take you to the top. Control down arrow will take you to the very bottom past all the messages you wrote in the edit field and whatever. And you just VO or right arrow if you have quick nav on to the edit field, double tap or VO spacebar, and the edit field will open up.
Just to clarify what you said, Cliff, and I do know the answer to this. I can't have you thinking that I'm wrong and you're right twice in one day. That's just not, But just to pretend here, Cliff. So you said now. So if I have 87 message conversations on the left-hand side of the screen, if I am at the top of the left side and I want to get to the bottom, the very last message conversation number 87, control down arrow, right? No.
Well, technically,
not
yes.
going to do it.
It will take you to the very bottom It's not going to take you to the bottom of the messages list. It's going to take you to the bottom of the
Right.
window. So whatever conversation
Right.
is selected, that's what it's going to jump past and take you
That's
to
right.
the edit field
And
of.
and
But Cliff,
that's
is
why I
there
brought that
something
up,
that
because
you can get to the bottom of all 87 messages? Because that's one limitation, is just going down to the bottom of the page or the window.
I mean, I wouldn't know if you would call it a limitation if you have your conversation selected and you want to get to the edit field right away. That's, it depends on how you want to look at it. You could always use your left and right arrow or left and up arrow and use containers and jump to the top of that conversation that way. But the control up arrow is going to take you to the top of the app, and the control down arrow is going to take you to the very bottom. It is not going to take you to the bottom of the conversation list.
I think, Sarah, if you wanted to get to that 87th conversation only, I think you'd have to use your scrolling gestures
Yeah.
because the four-finger single tap gesture that we think of as top and bottom, that's also going to do the same thing as the control up and control down arrow, which is that it's going to take you to the very top and very bottom of the app. So it's not respecting one side of the screen over the other.
Yeah.
So
Wouldn't
yeah,
it be
I
nice
think
though if you did have like a quick, go down, scroll down.
jump to last conversation, and there's probably, I'm going to say, let's check this out here.
Kylie, button, conversations, vertical scroll bar.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. So if you tap the top right of the top of the right-hand side of the screen and swipe once to the left, if you have enough like if you really did have 87, I don't know how many I have, but when you get more than can fit on one page of the screen, you're going to get that vertical scroll bar, and that would be another way then to quickly jump to the, to where you want to go. Now, we're going to, you recognize that we can select any of these existing messages and we can read the messages and then we can reply. I'm going to show you some extra cool little tidbits. Remember, I'm not teaching this from the ground up because we're expecting the basics of the Messages app, but I want to show you some cool features. The first one I'm going to show you is exactly what Cliff just talked about, which is pins. Pins are a way of keeping your most important conversations at the top of the conversation list. Conversations that you really don't have any intention of deleting. Your pins sync across iPhone and iPad. They don't seem to sync to the Apple Watch. And correct me if I'm wrong, they don't sync to the Mac, right, Cliff?
That is wrong. They do.
They do sync to the Mac.
Yes, they do.
Oh, I bet I know why mine didn't. I think I forgot to enable the iCloud messages setting on the Mac. That's probably why.
And remember, you got to have the same setting of how long you want to keep your messages set the same on all your devices too.
Right.
That plays a part in it.
So the only one the pins don't sync to then is the Apple Watch.
Correct.
Okay. So all three of those devices, iPhone, iPad, and Mac, do support pinning. And again, when you do it on one, it's going to do it on the rest. So you can have on the and I assume this is the same for all the devices, but you can have up to 9 pins on the top of the conversation list. So I'm going to touch the top here on the left-hand side.
Edit button.
There's your edit button.
Edit button.
And that's going to allow us to multi-select and some other things. Let's just show you what's under edit for a moment.
Select messages button.
That's your multi-select. Like, I want to select 7 different conversations to quickly delete them.
Edit pins button.
There's where you can edit your pins.
Edit name and photo button.
That's where I can edit how my name and photo appear to people who don't have me in their contacts.
Camera button.
And then it jumps.
Take a picture with the camera and attach it to this conversation.
That's another thing that could be confusing to our voiceover users. That menu that appeared when I hit edit, it is not taking up the whole screen. It's only a part of the screen. It's almost like a popover. And so the rest of the screen is still there. So if I want to get out of this and I didn't know how, what would I do? Well, I could try to swipe to the left.
Edit pen. Select messages. Select
Nope,
messages.
that's not going to work. So what else could we try? Well, how about a 2-finger scrub? Because folks that are not using VoiceOver, they can just sort of tap off of it. But I think a 2-finger scrub, there it is. See?
Conversations.
And you're back to the conversation. All right, so that's edit. Let's look to the right.
Edit button.
I mean, let's swipe to the right.
Before you
Messages.
continue, I
Edit.
want to mention that you technically don't have to go into the edit to edit your pins.
No, you don't. That's right. That's right. You can pin and unpin right from the conversations list.
You can even move them up and down too. So, because you can drag it.
Compose. Button.
Because you can just use the drag option.
Right.
Yep. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I was going to mention that when we got there. I'm glad you pointed that out because that's yep. So then we have the title here, messages heading,
Messages. Heading.
and then our compose button.
Compose. Button.
Very important that you know where that compose button is. It's on the left-hand side, not the right-hand side of the screen. Why? Well, because the right-hand side of the screen is the selected conversation. Remember that so you don't get confused, because on an iPhone it is on the right, but on the iPad you're better off starting at the top left.
Compose. Button.
There it is. Compose. Swipe to the right, and we're going to get to our list of messages.
Search. Search
And on the
field.
keyboard, you can hit Command
Double
N for a
tap
new
to
message.
edit.
You can hit Command N for new message if you're using the keyboard. Yes. Yep. And then here's a search field. And that search field allows, right next to it is,
Dictate. Dimmed. Button.
okay, and it's dimmed.
Double
One thing I
tap.
wanted to mention though, but you
Double
scrubbed
tap.
out of it, is when you're in the edit, you can actually go in there and view your deleted messages, and that's important because when you delete your messages now, they don't automatically get deleted off your device.
That's right.
There's a deleted messages area where you can clear all, recover them, or whatever the case may be. So if you have messages that have 13 videos, 5,500 pictures, and audio files, whatever the case may be, even though you deleted them, it's still taking up room on your device. So periodically, I think I check mine on Fridays, I'll go into my deleted messages and I'll, if I haven't recovered them by then I don't need them. So I go in there and I clear all the deleted messages out so my device onboard storage, not cloud, but onboard storage stays, at a reasonable amount.
That's right. That's right. Like he said, if you receive a photo from somebody, for example, or a video, that's taking up the space for the item that you received. Then if I decide I'm going to send that photo or that video to 5 people, it's going to make 5 copies of that, one for each conversation that I send it to. And it is, I'm talking 5 separate conversations now, okay? If I sent it to my mom one day and then, grandma tomorrow and, brother the next day. You're going to have it each time you do that, it's making a new copy. And so, it's easy for that to start taking up space really quickly. But the other point that Cliff made is that in the edit button, when we hit that, and you heard select messages and edit pins, edit name and photo, one of the things that you did not hear is anything about deleted messages, and that's because I have no deleted messages right now. But if I were to delete a conversation, I would see that, or I guess really an individual message, I would see that option in the edit menu. It would say view recently deleted, I think is the verbiage there. And when that happens, I think I have 30 days to go in there and decide I really didn't mean to delete that. I want to recover it, or I can actually force it to delete now so I don't have to wait the 30 days. So I can actually give you an example of this because I know I have something I can delete here.
I was about to say, when you go in there, it'll say message and it'll say 22 days, 25 days.
Right.
Basically, what it's telling you is telling you how many days you have to recover it.
That's right. That's exactly right. So let's just find one I can delete here in the list.
Mega, Pat, Jelly, main instructor, Cliff, 244147. Chili's, lucky you. We're letting you in on our secret $6 margarita, the Lucky Jameson.
Okay, that's a message from Chili's, and I get those periodically because I'm signed up for their, text alerts, but I also don't really need that message right now, so it's a great opportunity for me to give you this example. So when you are using this with, this is what I'm going to do. Now if you're not using VoiceOver, you tap and hold on this and swipe it to the left. You just swipe it away and you'll get an X. You can delete it. If I'm using VoiceOver, I want to use the rotor because my rotor defaults to actions, of course. And so I'm on the message conversation that I want to delete. I want to delete this whole conversation, so I will swipe up and down.
Drag item.
Drag item. That's what Cliff was talking about. Drag them to different places.
Delete.
Delete.
Open a new window.
Open a new window.
Hide alerts.
We can hide alerts. Why would we want to hide alerts? Well, maybe you're in a group chat and it's gotten really crazy, and there's a new message every 5 seconds, you know. So you can temporarily mute the alerts here. You also have a setting within your settings that if somebody gives you a mention, which is like hashtag and your name, then it alerts you anyway, even if they're hidden, even if the alerts are muted. So hide alerts, if they're already muted, it'll say show alerts, I think, or unmute alerts, something like that. So if you ever have a conversation and you say, I'm not getting the alerts for it, it's unread, but it's not any alerts coming in, that'd be the first thing to check. Now here,
Mark as unread.
I can mark this as unread.
Pin 244147.
Look at that. I can pin it, except I really can't because I already have 9 pins, but the option is there. It's just I would get an error if I tried to pin it. But there's where you pin your conversations. If you want to pin a conversation, you just double tap right now.
Activate default.
And there's activate to select that message so I could reply to it or whatever. But remember, we want to delete it.
Drop delete.
Double tap.
Alert. Delete from all your devices. This conversation will be deleted from all of your devices. Cancel. Delete button.
Okay.
Conversations. Edit button.
Now, we're going to go into edit and I'll show you that deleted messages item.
Select messages button. Edit pins. Edit name and photo. Show recently deleted button.
There it is. Show recently deleted. Double tap.
Conversations. Thursday, March 6th. Screen recording and conversations. Conversations show the days remaining before deletion. 244147. 10 messages. 30 days.
There it is. And if I swipe to the right, well, first of all, there's
Drag item.
rotor actions again.
Delete. Recover. Pin. To activate.
See,
Default.
I can recover it, I can delete it, but then if I go to the right,
Toolbar. Delete all button. Recover all button.
so I can delete all, I can recover all, I can recover individual ones or delete them through the rotor. But, you know, if I want to just go ahead and delete all 30 of those in that conversation now.
Delete all button. Delete all. Alert. Are you sure you want to permanently delete these messages? These messages will be deleted from all of your devices. This action cannot be undone. Delete 10 messages button.
And we will. Again, no reason I had to do that because it would have done it itself in 30 days if I just had left it there, but we'll just do it.
Conversations.
And because...
Conversations. Selected. Kylie.
Okay, and because there's nothing else in my recently deleted now, that's no longer even available, so it brings me back to my main list of conversations automatically. So that's a little primer on how to use the recently deleted and how to recover messages if you accidentally deleted them. So now I want to go back to the pins discussion. I have some conversations pinned here, so we'll just look at how that works.
Dictate. Dimmed. Button.
Again, that's where we were before. We were on the search field, and then the dictate, that allows you to search for messages and stuff. You'll notice that dictate is dimmed. That's because we're on a Zoom call. That's why you can't dictate. Then I get to my conversations list, and the first 9 of them are pinned.
Conversations. Selected. Kylie. Pinned.
That's my daughter.
Carson. Pinned.
That's my son.
Family chat. Pinned.
And that is the conversation with my wife and my kids.
Jessica. Pinned.
That's my wife.
Kids chat. Pinned.
And that is just myself and the kids, which I think we created when they were home during the pandemic and my wife was at school. And I didn't want to interrupt her, but I wanted to have a conversation with just them. So
Megan. Pinned. Fred. Pinned. Molly. Pinned. Pat. Pinned.
those are other pins that I have, other, you know, family members or you know, close friends that I text regularly and stuff. And then when you're done with that, you get to the main list of your conversations. Now, again, if you want to unpin any of these, you swipe up or down until you hear unpin and you double tap. I think you can tap and hold as a non-voiceover user and get that same option, or swipe to the right. But, you know, when you're on, what I want to do next is I want to send a message.
Jelly. Unread. Main instructor chat. Unread.
Okay, there's some unread messages there, which I will read later, but...
Cliff. Sorry I missed your...
Okay, that was the last message I had sent to Cliff. When you go to these messages, it reads the most recent one. And we'll just send a message. I'll show you how to send an existing one to an existing, you know, like one that's right there. So we'll double tap on him.
Cliff. So... Messages. Message. iMessage. Text field. Message. Text field. Is editing. iMessage. Insertion point at start.
Now we have the full keyboard in front of us. We've not really talked about the keyboard yet very much. So let's, this is a great opportunity. When we are in landscape mode, it really is what you'd consider a full-size keyboard, but it's a software keyboard, of course, virtual. If you want to use a hardware keyboard, we've talked about those options, and that's perfectly fine. Right now, I'm just using the on-screen, and I use direct touch typing, which is a voiceover. You know, with voiceover, you have different typing modes, of course. This is not a voiceover class, so we won't go into all that right now. But you'll hear me type in a second with this. And what I want to point out is that on the iPad, you're going to have the QWERTY layout that you're used to, and you really can use proper home row fingering. Like on the iPhone, people tend to type with their thumbs, or like I type with my index finger on the iPhone. With the iPad, you can actually place your fingers in the proper home row configuration when you type, because there's a big enough keyboard that you can do that. And the beauty of it is the period and the comma appear exactly where you would expect them to be, just down below your home row, and just to the right of the M. You have the M and then the comma and then the period. You don't have, let me see here, just to...
Comma, selected, shift.
Yeah, so you don't have to like press and hold the shift while you press another letter. You just tap on it to, you know, make the next letter capitalized, or you can actually, for non-voiceover users, you can double tap on it to go into caps lock mode. But there's also a caps lock on most iPads now, just to the left of the letter A, where you'd expect it.
Cap A, caps lock.
Okay. And I think there's even a rotor action if I look at the shift.
Selected, shift.
And if I swipe up and down.
Caps lock. Activate default.
Yep, and you also heard the hint here. It's going to say quadruple tap because voiceover's on, and so...
Selected, shift. Quadruple tap to enter caps lock.
All right, so that's another way you can do it. Because there are some devices that don't have a large enough screen to support the actual caps lock key. But here on the iPad Air and on the iPad Pros, it does have, and I actually even on the 10th generation iPad, it does, because it's the same screen size. Up above caps lock,
tab.
We have a tab key, and we have all the keys we'd expect. Now, when we have, I told you, period and comma, if you add a shift, if you press shift first and it's selected, then your comma, that becomes exclamation mark, and the period becomes question mark. To the right of the letter L, you have...
comma, cap K, cap L, return.
There you can hear that. Okay, so to the right of the L you have return. And up above that,
cap P.
To the right of the
Papa.
To the right of the P,
delete.
You have delete. Okay, so that's your basic keyboard. The only thing I don't have on this keyboard on screen is the number row. Now, had I had an iPad Pro 12.9 inch, I would have a number row. The number row would be right above the QWER, just like it is on a, physical mechanical keyboard. And the adding the shift key to any of those numbers would be just like doing it on a mechanical keyboard. Number 1 is exclamation, number 2 is at, same deal there. But on the 12.9 inch is the only iPad to support that extra row. On the rest of them, how are we going to get the numbers? Well, there's actually 2 ways to do it. And if you're an iPhone user, you're already familiar with one of the ways. The button down at the bottom that used to be called More, and now they've just changed it to say numbers or symbols or whatever. For our sighted folks, it's got like a 1, 2, 3 for numbers and stuff. Okay, so if I go down below the shift key here.
Selected, shift, emoji.
I have the emoji or the globe.
Numbers.
To its right, I have numbers.
Dictate, dimmed.
To its right.
Double tap to start dictation. Double tap with 2 fingers when finished.
Okay, that's the dictate button. Again, it's grayed out right now, which is expected. And you heard that you can 2-finger double tap to stop. You can actually 2-finger double tap to start as well with VoiceOver on, as long as you are truly in an edit field and the focus is on the keyboard. All right, if the focus is not on the keyboard, the magic tap will not start dictation. So you just be aware of that. And again, that is a voiceover command. So for our non-voiceover users, you cannot two-finger double tap to start and stop dictation, but you just tap on that dictate button, which looks like a microphone. And then to the right,
Space.
there's your space bar.
Numbers.
Numbers again.
Handwriting.
There's handwriting.
Tap to open the handwriting area.
Okay.
Hide keyboard.
And hide keyboard.
Hide keyboard.
We're going to talk about all this. All right. So handwriting. What's that about? All right. That is handwriting for everybody. So for our voiceover users, do not be confused about the handwriting. That's not the same as the handwriting that you have in the rotor. If you put it in the rotor, that lets you, handwrite on it. That's not the same thing. This is everybody, non-voiceover alike. It's the feature that lets you write in any edit field, anywhere. And so you can enable the handwriting, and a person can write their letters, and they will appear as actual editable, searchable text. It's really, really cool for those folks who use that. And if you are an Apple Pencil user, that's really awesome on the iPad, because you can actually write with the pencil or the Logitech Crayon right on your screen. And then the one to the right is the hide keyboard button. That's not on an iPhone either, and that's actually going to become very important, because the iPhone, the iPad keyboard is very large. And that's a wonderful thing when we're trying to type. But sometimes, especially when we're doing things like filling out forms or certain other things, the keyboard can actually get in the way, and it can block some of these other icons from doing these other buttons from doing what it is that they are designed to do. So if you are ever filling out a form online or something, and you go to the next button or whatever it might be, and it just seems like it won't work, you double tap and nothing happens. Or maybe as you double tap, it's writing a letter, a character in your edit field instead of, doing what it's supposed to do. The thing to do is to go down to the bottom right and hide the keyboard. Now, you can always get it back again by double tapping the edit field, or for non-voiceover users, just tapping once in the edit field. You can always bring the keyboard back up if you need it, but get it out of the way when you're not using it, because it will, and sometimes it's the only way to actually continue. And then the other thing is that the keyboard, whenever you hide it, in some cases, that's kind of the same thing as like hitting a go button on the iPhone, okay? Because it closes that edit field and takes you to the next thing. So remember that hide button down to bottom.
Hide keyboard. Double tap and hold, then drag up to alter keyboard.
And we're definitely not going to do that. That's if we want different, like one-handed typing and stuff, we're not going to do that. So I want to go back though and point out on the left-hand side,
Numbers.
That numbers button. If I double tap that, it changes my keyboard to having numbers 1 through 0, or 0 through 9, I guess would be the more correct way to say that, but that's not the way they appear on screen, of course. And then it also has some of the most commonly used punctuation. Your period and comma, exclamation, and question mark are already on the main characters, the letters page, so you really don't need to worry about that. But it has like the colon, the semicolon, slash, percent,
So the
things.
12.9 is the only one that has the numbers above this keyboard already?
That's correct. That's the only one. Yep. And so that's numbers, and then once you show numbers, there'll be one called symbols as well that you can go to, or you can go back to letters. And if you do that, you'll see even more symbols and some of the more obscure ones. So I'm going to tell you a second way to access numbers, though, that is only on the iPad, and it's actually the way I prefer to do it. Now, depending on which typing mode you are using as a voiceover user, it's going to vary how exactly you do this. And so it's not for everybody. But if you're using standard typing, or if you're using direct touch typing, it works great. And if you're a sighted user, you're not using VoiceOver, it also works great. What it is that all these keys on the keyboard have an alternate key on the iPad, and this is only for iPad. And our sighted users, they sort of just flick the key up and it gives you these alternates. And for us VoiceOver users, we swipe up. If I'm in direct touch typing, I have to sort of hold my finger there for a minute first, so I make sure that I don't type the key.
Cap D. Delta.
Now listen if I swipe up or down.
$sign.
There's a $sign.
Activate. Default.
And there's activate. The $sign puts in the $sign. Activate puts in the original, the D. Let me go up to the row above that, the E.
Cap E.
Here's the E, and if I swipe up and down,
3. Activate.
that puts in the 3. So the Q, W, E, R, that's all your numbers, starting with Q.
Cap Q. 1.
That's 1, all the way over to P, which is
Cap P. 0.
the 0. Your next row has the A is at, we know the D is $sign. I think the S, I forget what the S is.
Cap S. $sign.
It's the number sign. So,
Cap F. Ampersand.
and the G is star.
Cap G. Star.
All right, you get the idea. There's, I think H and J are your parentheses.
Cap J. Right paren.
Yep, so the H is the opening parentheses, the J is the closed parentheses. I don't remember what the...
Cap L. Closing double quotation mark. Cap K. Closing single quotation mark.
That's right, yeah, so the K is your apostrophe, and the L is the quote. And then you have another row down below that has stuff too. I think the Z is percent, X is hyphen.
Cap Z. Percent. Cap Z. Cap X. Hyphen. Cap C. Plus. Cap V. Equals.
Your B is the backslash.
Cap B. Slash.
Or I'm sorry, the forward slash, not the backslash, the forward slash. The N is the,
Cap B. Cap N.
the N is the,
November.
what do you call that? The colon, or the semicolon. The semicolon?
Semicolon.
And the M is the colon. That's right. So anytime you want to insert one of these, now, if you're using direct touch typing like I am, it is a bit of a thing to get used to. Because first you have to hold the key long enough that it doesn't just type it. So like if I tap the letter, let's say I want to insert a colon. Well, if I tap on the M and I lift my finger right away,
Cap M.
see, it actually typed that character in there. So we'll delete it.
Cap M.
Now, what I do, hold my finger on it.
Cap M.
Now let go.
Mike.
And then I can swipe down.
Colon.
There's colon. Now to insert it, I have to double tap. But here's another trick for you voiceover users using direct touch. You can't double tap right there. Because if you do, it's going to insert 2 M's or 2 whatever it's going to, because it's like you're just typing the letter normally. So you got to go somewhere else on the screen where the keyboard is not.
Colon.
There we go. And we put in the colon.
Colon.
All right. Here's a message to
Deliver. Today. Cliff.
Cliff.
App message. Text field is editing.
So let's just send him a quick test message.
So there's not any alternate characters for the numbers.
Space.
If you were in the numbers, would there be alternate keys there?
I don't remember. Let's check.
Numbers. 3. Plus tilde. Activate.
Okay,
Default.
so the number row doesn't.
2. Space.
Okay, but the row below it
Hyphen. Vertical line.
does.
Hyphen. Activate. Plus tilde. Activate. Equals.
So, like the equals is
Ellipsis.
the ellipsis,
Plus.
the plus is the tilde,
Tilde. Slash.
the slash is the
Backslash.
backslash. So there are alternates on the symbols in the number keyboard, but not the numbers itself. Interesting. All right, let's go back to letters.
Letters.
And I typed a little. We'll type some more here.
Space. Capped A I X I X N U T just T A T E T.
And you can put you can type 2 spaces to put a period and a space.
Space.
If I look here,
5.
Whoops.
Return.
I'll go to that's another thing. If I want to use my rotor, then I have to make sure it's not on actions when I want to edit the what I've typed. And you can turn the rotor manually, or if you just tap on something that doesn't have an action, like the return key, then I know I'm safe to use the rotor.
Space. Period.
So you see it put in the period because I did a space. All right, so it puts a period.
Period. Space.
And a space. I'll do one more sentence here.
Cap A O space R E Y U question mark U.
So I can read what I've typed to Cliff.
Camera message text field is editing testing. This is just a test. How are you?
Okay.
Insertion point at end.
We send this to the right here.
Rotor to accept.
Here we go. Swipe to the right.
Send button.
There's the send button. Now, we know we can double tap to send that, or our non-voiceover users can just tap to send it. But I promised you a demonstration of the more powerful features. So let's not just send the message regularly. Let's long press the send button. Remember, long press menus. And what do we get?
Send with effect.
We get send with effect. So now we're not just going to send the message regularly.
Selected. Bubble. Button. 1 of 2. Screen. Button. 2 of 2.
We're going to send it with either a bubble effect or a screen effect. The bubble effects...
Slam. Button. Loud. Button. Gentle. Button. Invisible ink. Button. Close. Button.
Or we can close that if we don't wish to do it. And I'll change to the screen effects.
Slam. Screen. But selected. Send with effect.
Now these don't all show up consecutively like the bubble effects do. These you have to actually change the page to see the different ones. So
bubble, but selected, screen, echo, copies of the message bubble echo across the screen, expanding and shrinking as they rise and swirl then disappear.
And if I
send with echo, button, close, button, page 1 of 8, echo, adjustable.
See, there's 8 different ones. I could have also 3-finger swiped over here.
Echo, page 2 of 8, spotlight.
We'll use that one. Let's see what it says.
Spotlight. The conversation darkens, then a bright spotlight of white light illuminates your message as particles of dust float through the light.
And there's actually a little sound effect that goes with it too. But when he receives that message, that will actually tell him that. So we'll use that one.
Send with spotlight. Button. Send with full screen effect. The conversation darkens, then a bright spotlight of white light illuminates your message as particles of dust float through the light. Your iMessage. Testing. This is just a...
And I'll pause the speech there. You don't need to hear that again. All right, so that's how you send a message to an existing conversation. Now let's send one to Sarah. Now I've talked with Sarah. I'm sure I still have the conversation with her because I typically don't delete them, but I'll just compose a new one and it will add on to the existing one rather than searching for it or swiping to it. So we'll go up here.
Compose button.
Because I want to show you this way.
To text field is editing. Insertion point at start.
So we're in the to field. I have 2 options.
Cancel button. To text field. Add contact button.
To the right of the edit field that's marked 2, I can say add contact. And that lets me see my whole list of contacts and I can add Sarah that way. But I like to do it this way. I like to just type the first few letters and then reach up to the upper right side of the screen and find her name in the search results. The more I type, the more it narrows down the search.
S-A-R.
I typed S-A-R. Let's tap on the upper right side of the screen here near the middle.
New message. Cancel. To add contact. Results. Sarah Potok. Expand options button.
And you notice that it says expand options. Sometimes it'll say chevron. Sometimes it'll say expand options. It's the same thing. What that means is that it's selected what it thinks is the correct number for Sarah, but maybe I have a home, an iPhone, a work, several different ones. If it picks the wrong one, or if I want to use a different one, I hit expand options and I can choose a different contact method for Sarah. And if we look,
main instructor chat, Sarah, chevron.forward. Sarah EPUB, main, Sarah Potok, plus expand options.
So we're gonna use that one, Sarah, right there.
Sarah Potok. To text field.
I've double tapped on it to select it, and you'll notice it put her in there.
Sarah Potok, add contact button.
And the add contact button's still there. Now what if I want to send this to more than one person? That's then a group conversation, and we're going to talk about those in a moment. How do I do that? Well, I just type another name. There's no reason I can't type a second name, or I can use that add contact button. But right where I am, I can actually... let's send one to Cliff also.
K-L-I.
So now...
To Sarah Potok, add contact. Results. Cliff Antonio Miller Sr. Cliff at startup.com.
And that one I let you hear because that's his public email address anyway. So we can...
expand options button.
We can expand the options. We can see a different contact method, but we're just going to use this one.
Cliff Antonio. To text field is editing.
So now you can see
Sarah Potok, Cliff Antonio Miller Sr.
They're both in there. We got a group, and you'll notice
show alternate addresses. Activate default.
If I want to get alternate options, I can use the rotor on either one of these names.
Sarah Potok, show alternate addresses. Cliff Antonio Miller Sr.
So I've got this conversation ready to go. We'll go over here to the edit field.
Message, iMessage, text field, insertion point edit.
We've double tapped, and we'll just say hello.
Cap H E L L O exclamation mark L space.
Now, Again, I could send with an effect if I wanted to. This time we'll just send regularly.
Undo, send, button.
Actually, I'm going to teach you something else before I send this. I'm going to teach you how to edit or undo a message that you sent. So let's pretend I typed hello incorrectly. Only I'm not going to pretend. I'm actually going to add some weird letters to it, so it's like I made a mistake.
Return, O, space, L, space, X, 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 Z, Z.
Now we got it spelled really weird.
Hey, helps.
Notice those are some autocorrect options or some predictions. Where are they?
Undo, send.
They're just to the right of the send button. You have paste, undo, redo, and some suggestions. Quick types, autocorrects.
Message, text field, is editing, helps, so, character.
See, it's spelled really weird now, which I did that on purpose. So, Cliff and Sarah, don't open this message right away, because I don't know if I can undo it once you open it. Maybe I can, but let me just demonstrate how we can edit or undo. As soon as I send it, what am I going to do? I'm going to swipe to the left, and I'm going to find the message that I most recently sent to them, and I'm going to look in the rotor, and I might also long press to show you those different options. I'm telling you this ahead of time because it has to be relatively quick. I don't remember if you get 2 minutes to undo or edit a message that you sent or how long it is, but it's not very long. So as soon as you realize there's an issue, you take care of it right away. So we'll send this, but then we're going to swipe over to that message and undo it or edit it.
App message, send, button. Send message, today. Your iMessage, helps, so, react, reply, undo, send, copy, translate, more, drag, activate.
Let's long press it.
Reply, but undo, send, edit, but.
We're going to edit.
Text field, cap, P, return, space, exclamation mark, O.
Let's delete those Z's and X's.
X, Z, X, 0. Return, L, O, X, space.
Get that space out of there too.
Space. Cancel, text, cancel, edit, text field, send, edit, button. Message, text, message received, from, Chili, apps, hit, your iMessage, hello. 3:05 p.m.
And you see it's now edited and it's sent correctly. Yeah. Now you also, so you saw the rotor actions there. If I choose an existing message that has already been sent to me, I have rotor options, and you heard some of them.
Today, your iMessage, hello, react.
What's react? Those are what are called tapbacks. So if somebody sends you a message, you can double tap on react there, and you can, that's by swiping up or down on the message that was sent, and you, not in the list of conversations, but within the message conversation itself. And you have react, you double tap on it, you get things like a heart, a thumbs up, those kinds of things, and then those are tapbacks.
Reply.
There's reply. What does that mean? Well, let's say somebody sent you 5 different messages in a row. My son likes to do that on purpose. He just likes to send me like an entire sentence each as a separate message, like one message at a time. Like, Carson, are you going to? Is Molly bringing you home from school today? That's his girlfriend, and then he'll reply to me one word in each message, like she wants me to go for dinner, but it's like every message is separate, But if somebody sends you like a group of messages and you want to reply to the first one instead of the last one or something, you find that message in the conversation here and swipe up or down until you hear reply. You can also long press, and our non-voiceover users would have to long press, and then you can choose reply. What that does is it's called an inline reply. So instead of it going at the very end, it goes back to the message that you're replying to, and that's really, really useful in group situations and in any situation where someone has sent a series of messages. So now let's see what we want to do here. We want to
Edited button.
Notice it shows me that that's edited too, by the way.
Your iMessage, hello, edited button.
To the right there's an edited option. Okay, I know. I wanted to swipe up or down and show you what else was there besides reply and react.
Your react, reply, copy.
Copy. That's important because sometimes people get a long message from somebody and they say, I really want to save this, but I don't want to keep the message conversation. It's a web link, or it's web links you copy a little bit differently. You long press on those, or you, actually, no, you could copy them this way too, but that option is always there on messages that you receive. when you long press or when you use the rotor, and then you just double tap on copy, it puts that entire message into the clipboard. So that's good.
Translate.
Translate. Somebody sends you something in a different language.
More.
And there's more options.
Drag.
And drag.
Activate.
And
default.
activate. Now, what's under more? Well, there's a couple of things. You can forward a message. You can get into the option to select individual messages in the conversation. So, somebody sends you a message and you don't want to remove the whole conversation, but you want to delete one message within that conversation. You can do that. That's under more as well. And then that's kind of and the nice thing here is we have a group now. If I touch the top right of the screen, because that's the next thing I wanted to teach you about, especially, again, we're talking productivity kinds of stuff, so in families, or if you have a large group, maybe you got a church group, maybe it's your school, students working on a project, or faculty that's collaborating, or, other things at the workplace or in different environments, you can create these groups. And if you have all Apple users in the groups, the possibilities are just amazing. When you put a non-Apple user in the group, then it severely limits what you can do, but you can still have group conversations. It's just they don't function nearly as well. If you have all Apple people, like here we just have two people. We have Cliff and Sarah. So if I touch the upper right-hand, upper right part of the screen here now.
Sarah and Cliff button.
There's a button. And
FaceTime button.
To the right of that, I can FaceTime them. So this is how you can start a group FaceTime. So you're, working in a group with somebody in messages and you decide you actually want to talk. You can begin a group FaceTime right there. And this is how you can have, I've heard 32 and I've heard 64. I've never had that many in a FaceTime group, but you can have a nice group conversation with people, and you can mute yourself, you can turn your video on and off, you can show the back camera, you can send messages while you're FaceTiming, you can take live photos while you're FaceTiming. We'll learn what those are when we talk about the Photos app. There's a lot of stuff you can do, and of course one of the other things you can do is share play, which we will talk about soon. Now, one of the more useful things here that we can do with this group is give it a name. Again, that's only if you have all Apple people. So if you have an Android user, that feature is not going to be available. But if I double tap on the name of this here.
Sarah and Cliff button.
It says Sarah and Cliff. So I double tap there.
Done button.
Yeah, I'm brought to a screen where there's a done button, so we know how to get out of that when we're finished with it.
Conversation details. Sarah and Cliff. Change name and photo button.
There it is. Change name and photo. Let's look at what else is here first.
Call button.
We can give them a call. Again, that's a group FaceTime.
Video button.
And that's a group. So remember that FaceTime can be audio only as well. And so that call button is FaceTime audio. And then the video one, of course, is regular FaceTime video.
Mail button.
We can send mail.
2 people, Sarah, Cliff. Send my current location button. Share my location button. Your location will be shared from iPhone 49. Show and shared with you, switch button, on. What content shared in this conversation will appear in selected apps. Pin, hide alert.
Whoop.
Content shared in this conversation will appear in selected apps. Pins will always show. Learn more, link, hide alerts, switch button, off. Leave this conversation, dimmed.
Okay. There's quite a lot to talk about here. The first thing you heard was the change name and photo. We're going to show you that. And you saw the call and those things.
Your location. Send my current 2 people, Sarah, Cliff.
So if I want to add more people, I double tap and I can add more people to the conversation. I can remove somebody.
Send my current location button.
Okay.
Share my location button.
2 different options. They sound very similar, but they are a little bit different. You can right now send your current location. And then you also can share your location continuously. But you heard it said you heard it say that my location is being shared from my iPhone, which is correct, because even though I take my iPads with me, all almost all the time wherever I go. There are times that I just have my iPhone. So the iPhone really is the device, even though these are cellular iPads too. The iPhone really is the device where you want that location shared from for most people. So that is what I would expect to see here. But I can do a one-time share, and there's some cool little tricks too about that, but I'll come back to that. Just somebody remind me if I forget to come back to the location sharing trick in a minute. But let's show you what else is here. I wanted to comment on these.
Your location, show and shared with you, switched
Okay.
on.
Shared with you is really, really cool.
Toggle setting.
Guys, you're going to have to bear with me a second. It's pretty warm outside today, and therefore it's getting pretty warm inside. So give me just 1 minute to switch my... Well, it's an opportunity to show what Siri can do with that, but yeah, switch the thermostat to cool mode.
The lyric EB25.
Okay, so anyway...
And set to
Oh, wait a minute. Switch the thermostat to cool mode. Okay, there it went. You heard that little ding. That confirms it. And I should start to feel air conditioning here in just a moment. This is the time of year when you might need heat in the morning and at night and air during the day. All right, so praise God. Now, anyway, shared with you. Shared with you is, and for those who wonder what that little sound was, that is the... That's the canary giving me a temperature alert too. Shared with you allows you to see directly in apps the content that people shared. For example, let's suppose that somebody sends you a news article in Apple News. And you say, boy, I forgot to save that. You know, in the news app, you can save articles. And they're in your history and stuff, but you never opened it up in Apple News yet, and so you say, boy, I don't know when it was that so-and-so sent me that news article. I may not even have the conversation anymore. I might have deleted it, and I don't remember when they sent it. I got to scroll all the way back through the conversation and all that. Not anymore, because of Shared With You. What Shared With You does is it aggregates all the stuff that people have shared with you, and it works for apps like News, Safari. I think it works for the TV app, and maybe the music app too. And so what happens is when you open those apps, like in the News app, there's actually a Shared With You section. And in Safari, there's a Shared With You section. We'll show you those when we get to those apps. And so this option here allows me to determine whether this conversation's contents will be included in Shared With You. I've got Cliff and Sarah in this conversation. And, you know, if Cliff were to start sending me articles every 5 minutes and I was just tired of it, then maybe I don't want to have it in Shared With You. I'm kidding, but if so you have that choice here to turn that on or off. So I let that on, and you also remember hearing the little verbiage afterwards that said pinned conversations are always in Shared With You. So listen to that again.
Content shared in this conversation will appear in selected apps. Pins will always show.
Okay.
Learn more. Link.
And you can learn more there. So pins.
Tap to activate embedded link.
All right, and it tells you there's an embedded link. You can double tap. So pins will always show. And then the only other stuff I wanted to talk about here.
Hide alerts. Switch button off.
Again, that's another way to mute the conversation.
Leave this conversation.
And of course, that option there. Now, let's name this thing. So we'll go back to the left.
Share. Send my current look to people. Mail. Change name and photo button.
And
tap to dismiss pop-up window.
We can double tap to dismiss, but we'll go to the right.
Cancel. Done. Dim. Contact photo. Image. Enter a group name. Text field. Photo selection. Take photo. Button. Open gallery. Button. Add emoji. Button. Edit monogram. Button. Suggestions. Heading.
See, so you can have monograms, emojis, photos, and then it even has suggestions. I wonder what it's going to suggest.
Null on orange background. Button. Image and illustration of a gray circle with a white circle around it. Person. More. Heading. Add emoji. Button.
All right.
Grinning face with dark yellow orange background. Button. Beach with umbrella with dark cyan blue background. Button.
Well, that sounds
and illustration of
that sounds really nice right about now. I'm looking forward to the beach. Praise God. But let's go back and actually give this a text name.
Suggestion. Edit. Add emo. Open gal. Take. Enter. Enter a group name. Text field. Text field is editing.
We'll just call this the class test group.
Cap LAS space cap TET.
We'll just put class test.
Return.
Probably if I hit
The rotor to access misspelled word.
I think if I hit return, that'll do it.
Return image.
Now we have to
Shift. Return. Photo selection. Close button.
Wait, hit-
Image. Open gallery. Add. Take photo. Close button. Class test. Text field. Done. Done. Button.
Well, hit done should do it.
A blue logo on a white background. Done. Button.
And
Image.
done.
A blue
Done again. Now I will show you.
Converse. Done. Button. Message. Text field. Message.
It should.
Fred. Molly. Pat. Chili. Selected. Class test. Hello. 3:05 p.m.
And there it is. And it's called class test. And if Cliff and Sarah are looking at one of their devices, it will show them that I named it as well. And as long as you don't delete, now there's been some evidence that sometimes it works even if you do delete it, but the general rule of thumb is as long as you don't delete the conversation, you can even ask Siri to send a message to this group. So I could say, tell class test, I'll be right with you, or something like that. And Siri can do that and knows those group names. So that's a little bit about groups. And we talked a little about group FaceTime. I can't demonstrate that for you today, but maybe I'll make a new recording. Group FaceTime is really awesome, and group messaging is really awesome. And as I said, it's a great way to communicate with a bunch of people. When you are on a group FaceTime, there's some really cool things you can do, which I'll get into in a little bit. I wanted to come back to, praise God, I wanted to come back to the little location trick and a couple other little tricks too. When you are typing a message, this is just really, productivity stuff, that are really cool.
Return image.
So I'm in a message conversation here still with the class test group, and I can start typing. So like if somebody sends me a message that says, "Where are you?" it will actually pop up above the keyboard the option for you to send your current location right then and there. All right, so that's the "Where are you" option. And when somebody sends you that message, "Where are you?" you'll get that little option above the keyboard that says, share my current location. But the other one that I want to show you is if I start typing something, I'm going to type "my phone number is."
Cap U my J M space. Message. Text field is editing. My phone number is character word 814-348-1366.
And that's our TTJ phone number. That is right above the keyboard, like right above the letters U, I, and O. And I should have
iPhone tab work iPhone paste dimmed.
So
button.
I can choose my,
Eraser.
and I think there's probably an autofill.
Redo undo send repay iPhone work
So it's displaying my iPhone and my work. And if I just double tap on one of those,
iPhone 1.
it puts it in there.
Message text field is editing. My phone number is 8149.
See that? So it just automatically, so you type those kinds of things, and these little shortcuts that you might want to take advantage of. The "where are you" thing, you can send quickly your current location. My phone number is, those kinds of things. And there's also some words, we demonstrated those message effects a little bit ago. There's also some words that automatically trigger message effects. There's actually quite a few of them, and Trainer Rita has a list of all of them, I think. But, some of the common ones like "happy birthday" will, if you just type that. Now, if you put other things in the message, it's not going to do it. You can add one manually then, like I did, but it's not automatically. If you say, "happy birthday, hope you're having a wonderful day," it's not going to do it. But if you just put "happy birthday," it will, if you send that, it will automatically put the, I think that one's balloons. This is such a powerful app. And as you can see, we're already an hour and a half into class, basically, almost. But I think we've done most of what I wanted to do for messages. Again, this is not a from the ground up course in the sense of teaching those basics. We have the basics, but we're teaching the iPad from the ground up, and I'm trying to give you the cool productivity kind of stuff. I know we mentioned very briefly the mentions. You can put a hashtag in front of somebody's name in a group conversation if you really need to call them out, and say, hashtag Sarah, how was the trip? Or, Cliff, did you get it? Whatever so you can use the mentions that way with the hashtag, which is your number sign.
so I have a Bluetooth keyboard, so I do my messages on my iPad using my keyboard, my smart keyboard. I'm wondering, is there a way to enable emojis using a keyboard?
It's the bottom left key, which they often call the globe key. Sometimes it's still called the function key, but it functions typically as the globe key in iPad OS. And
1239.
So my bottom left looks like it might be the control key.
Yeah, well, there should be one to the left of that.
Oh, yeah, there is. Okay.
Okay. Now, what that's
all
going
right.
to do, Linda, that's going to put the emojis on the screen, of course, so then you'll have to.
Yeah, I now see the okay, so, and then I can swipe through the emojis?
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay.
You can swipe through them. Remember, the bottom row on screen is different categories. So you have like smileys and people, flags, food, objects, travel. The
you
other
actually
thing
search for them too.
I guess we're all set then, guys. God bless you and thanks for joining. Support at ttjtech.biz or support at stiritup.com if you need anything. And we'll be back on Monday. Take care.
This
class has been produced by TTJ Tech Services. For questions, send email to support@ttjtech.biz or stir it up at support@stiritup.com.